So if you guys are joining me from my intro video and you just continued on, thank you for staying. If you came back, thank you for coming back. If this is your first time here, welcome. I'm Tiffany, and as I was saying in my last video, I am a survivor of so many things, so many abuses, that I wanted to share them in my pathway to becoming a healthy adult. So this story time video is my first story time video, and it will be about my childhood sexual abuse experiences. If this is your first time here, you will probably occasionally hear maybe my child or the dogs in the background. Be warned. Welcome to my life. So I was sexually abused from the age of 6 until the day that I went to college. And you know, when you have almost 15 years of sexual abuse, you can't share everything because you just don't have enough time. So I'm just gonna kind of do like a timeline of events and then maybe share a story or two. So my first time being sexually abused, I was 6 years old. We used to live in my great-grandma's house at the time. She was now in a nursing facility. And so it was my mother, my brother, my sister, and I sharing this little petite, cute home. And my mom met a gentleman in the club like a weekend or two prior to moving him into the home. And she was back in the club, and he was left with us 3 children. My brother was sleeping on the sofa. My sister and I were sharing a bed in the second bedroom. And in the middle of the night, he came into the room. I just felt like hitting against my mouth. And when I woke up, he had his penis trying to put in my mouth. So I'm like, no, he's shushing me. He's telling me, you know, be quiet, wake up, just lick it, just put it in your mouth. And I'm just like, no, 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 no. Then he tells me that he will give me a sucker if I perform oral sex on him. And I'm like, a sucker? I was easily bribed with candy as a child and anything sweet, and that will make sense later. So I'm bribed with, you know, a Tootsie Pop, and he said he's gonna give it to me later. So he proceeds then to tell me to lick it. And I remember just starting to like lick it, but then I'm smelling it. I'm like, and he's like, no, don't smell it, just lick it. And I'm like, I don't like the way that it smells. At the time, you know, being 6 years old, I don't realize that the smell is like sweaty balls. But that's what it smelled like, sweaty balls. And he then coached me into then licking his penis, which was very salty, and then performing oral sex on him. He instructed me, you know, go down lower, deeper, suck on it this way. Like, he gave specific instructions. And then I remember he was telling me to basically suck on it like I would suck on my Tootsie Roll Tootsie Pop. And I said, like the one from the commercials? And he was like, yeah. So I proceeded to suck on his penis like I would suck on like the little lollipop. But if you remember the commercial, it's like, how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? So I was playing the commercial in my head at the time. I remember 1, 2, 3, and I'm like sucking. And then when they get to the big one, I crunched on it, and he must have mushed me so hard in the face. I started crying, and he was trying to shush me, and he was telling me sorry, and I was like, no, you hurt me. And he was like, you can't bite it. So ultimately, it's maybe only like a 10-minute ordeal. The first time where he came into the room, it was the middle of the night. I remember it was raining outside. You hear the rain. Only a slither of light was coming in through, like, I don't know, a window or door, but it was only slither light. He only had on shorts, and you know, he gave me those few instructions, which I did not understand was going to be grooming for the future. And he told me I did good after he made me suck it and lick it a few more times. And then I was eventually like, no, leave me alone. I got real loud, and then he stuffed his penis back in his pants. And I thought he was going to leave, but then he started touching my vagina, and he started masturbating. And then I really got loud, and he shushed me. I was like, no, I don't like it. And then he left. So that was kind of just a quick overview of my first sexual abuse encounter. So this man sexually abused me until I believe I was 15 years old. The abuse increased, meaning, you know, as I got older, he wanted to then like play sex board games with me. He wanted to role play. He wanted me to wear lingerie. He would keep me home from school. Like my siblings would go off from school, he would keep me back from school and then take me to school later or pick me up early. To explain kind of like, when did this go down? Like, sometimes he would even sneak in the middle of the night, and I used to always wonder, like, dang, my mom sleeps that hard where you don't notice that on a regular basis your husband is up out of the bed? Like, why is he gone so long? And unfortunately, for like the majority of my childhood, I shared a bed with like my sister. So he was like doing what he was doing with my sister, sleeping next to me, who slept. Oh my gosh, she sleeps so hard. But if you see me looking down, I'm just trying to make sure I stay on my timeline. So yeah. So did I tell anyone about me being sexually abused? Yes, I did. I feel like society failed me because I told family more than once. I'll share a story then. So, I was seven, not quite 8, when I remember my mom asking me if anyone was touching me inappropriately. And unfortunately, she asked me while we were sitting on a sofa, and my brother and her ex-husband were sitting on the floor playing Sega. You were asking me in front of my abuser. So while I want to say yes, he's telling me never to say anything. So I'm like, And I remember ultimately I said yes, and she told me, oh, you know, whisper in her ear who it was. And I'm like, I could see him, he was not focused on the game. Like his fingers had stopped, and he was kind of looking like in the corner of his eye, and like he was not, his little action figure wasn't moving. My brother was like, hey man, like pay attention. And I just remember I lied and said that it was a cousin, which was not inaccurate. There was no sexual abuse with my cousin. We were just kids that were, you know, experimenting inappropriately. So it wasn't a sexual abuse, but that's what I said at the time, because I didn't know what else to say. Eventually, not too long later, I did say that it was her ex-husband, who was, I don't know if they were married at the time. Because they did not date long before they dated not that long. Anywho, point is, I eventually, not too long after that, maybe within a few days, disclosed that it was him who was sexually abusing me. When I tell you that traumatized me, like it traumatized me, because when I was then interrogated. Like, I can't tell you how many people in my family talked to me, questioned me. Moreover, he was in the military. So his military friends, one day my mom took me to somebody's house on the base. Oh, they had to be married by then, because by then, they were married by then, by the time we were living on the base. the military friends took me into a room, and the room had no lights on. You know, it's the middle of the day, but the curtains were kind of closed, so there was only partial light coming to the room. They closed the door, and there was like 4 adults in this room, men interrogating me, asking me when he do it, how he do it. Didn't you say the lights were off? And I'm like, yes, the lights were off, but you said you seen him. I did see him. Because I was trying to explain, like, when you're 7 years old, you were trying to explain that the moonlight is coming into the room, so I can see him. What was he wearing? He was wearing his gray military pants. You said that he didn't have on clothes. He didn't always have them on. He took them off. Sometimes it was different. It was an everyday occurrence, but I couldn't articulate that at 7. So they were like, oh, it didn't happen. You're lying. You just don't like him. That's why you're saying all these things. How could you say that he did it in the dark, but you knew what he was wearing? It's just like, when I think back on that, how could you let a child be interrogated like that? It just pisses me off. Like, it was so inappropriate. And my own family members were calling. Like, I wouldn't get on, but I was forced onto the phone with these people who would then repeat the same thing, and it was always the same conclusion, that it was like they were all stuck on the fact that if I said it was nighttime, it was dark, what was he wearing? How could you see him if it was dark? Because of the moonlight. I couldn't articulate it at 7 though. So I was trying to say the light was coming in, but you said there was no light. But I couldn't. So then I got called all types of liars. Not too long after that, because I remember it was like 3 consecutive days of just being interrogated by person after person after person, being called a liar. This man confessed. So he ultimately told on himself and confessed. I remember I was standing in the hallway watching my mom and him in the living room. He had a gun, and he was saying that he was going to kill himself if she did not, if she chose to stay with him. And she was saying that, you know, I've been telling her, and other people have been telling her she's been lying, and this whole time you knew she was telling the truth, and how could you do it? And he's like, I'm sorry, I'll never do it again, I'll get help, just don't leave me. So he put the gun in his mouth, and I remember a 7-year-old Tiffany was like ecstatic. I was like, I can't explain the joy that rose up in just, like, I was so excited because I just knew he was about to blow his brains out. Morbid, but in addition to sexual abuse, I had experienced other things. Like, I had already witnessed murder. Like, by 7, I had seen a lot of things. That's a different video. So I was ecstatic that he was about to blow his brains out and my child abuse, sexual abuse will be done. But I was quickly disappointed because my mom then told him she forgave him and that she would stay with him, that they would get some counseling, and he agreed. Something changed in me that day. Part of me was like, okay, maybe she's just telling him that so that she could leave him later perhaps. But part of me knew that it was just like, oh, you just chose him over me. And so there was disappointment and there was sadness. And so he went away for a couple weeks. I believe he was in the field. I'm uncertain if it was like disciplinary or if it was just like basic field training that he usually just partook in anyways. But he came back a few weeks later, and within that first month, it was a couple of weeks of like, oh, okay. But within the first month, he was back in my bedroom, and it just continued until they divorced. So he confessed, and the next time I remember telling again, I was 12. it was 4th of July. No, I told before the 4th of July to a neighborhood child. She was a teenager. She was a couple of years older than I was. Her name was Nadine. Hey, Nadine, if you remember me. Nadine lived 2 houses over on Post. I confided to Nadine. Nadine told her mom, who allegedly then told other neighborhood moms, and got together and brought my mom in to tell her, as if she didn't know, which, whatever. So then after this meeting, she came home upset, and was basically getting ready to whoop me for going out and running my mouth about what was going on in our house. And I remember locking myself in my bedroom, and just plotting to run away. I was like, I'm going to run out, jump out the window, and like get over to this freeway and just run away. And because we lived in, like, our backyard was shared with a park, and behind the park was woods, and I knew that if you went through the woods long enough, you hit the freeway. That was my plan, but I was like, you know what, at this point, where am I going to go? How am I going to live? It's not a good plan. Just go ahead and take this whooping. So I climbed down off the bunk bed, opened the door to take this whooping, and I remember just in mid-swing when she was whipping me, I got so indignant. I was so pissed off. I grabbed the belt and I punched her in the face. And in that moment, I remember, like, life slowed down, because I'm like, do I continue to hit her and defend myself? Because I'm not wrong in this situation. Or do I just back down and take what's ever about to come my way? And ultimately, I chose to back down, because when I was 12, I was like, I didn't even get like 4'10" till like junior year of high school. So at 12, I was really petite. And when I say she whacked me, she blackened my eye. That day that happened was the 4th of July. So the family went out to see the fireworks on base, and I remember the whole time, because I was now punished. I'm so pissed off thinking about it. I was on punishment. I had to lay like this the entire show, and on the blanket, and people, like her friends and people, were just like, oh, what's wrong with her? What's she doing? She was telling them I was tired, and they was like, oh, you can't sleep through the fireworks. I remember one time I peeked my head up to like just look or see or respond to someone who may have been talking to me, and then she's like, put your head down, I got scolded. Of course, you don't want nobody to see this black eye. So that was another time that I had disclosed the abuse, and it went terribly wrong. I also told a teacher, and I told a teacher, and like a teacher in high school, I think. But before even then, I told a guidance counselor, 9th grade year. I told a guidance counselor. I also had a broken finger from abuse that year. You know what? I just got failed by the system, is what I'm feeling like. And that's the way the cookie crumbled, I guess. Let me stay on topic. Okay. Let me go back to elementary Tiffany, little baby Tiffany. You know, so much happened between the ages of like 6 and 8. During that time period as well, I experienced my first sexual exploitation. I'm not going to name this person, but this person is a different person than who exploited me as a teenager. This person in particular, here's when I said earlier, I was easily bribed with sweet stuff. This person, how it originally happened, I just got asked to go for a snow cone. And I love me a snow cone. To this day, I love me a snow cone. And I said, okay. we had to make a stop to me an unknown residence where there were then men in the house. First, I got left in the car. Then the person came back to get me, and there were men in the house. I remember them bartering what could and could not be done to me in exchange for money or drugs. And I remember the person trying to explain to me, everything's going to be okay. You know, you're just going to go into this room and spend some time with, you know, this gentleman by himself. And I was like weary, but at the same time I knew what was going on, because unbeknownst to that person, I was being sexually abused already. So my antennas are like, oh, okay, I know what this is. So the man then proceeds to like touch my non-existent breast and fondle me, and I remember me then, because he wanted to have intercourse with me. I edit there. I accidentally gave the person away. Okay, so the gentleman had touched my breast and fondled me, and then he wanted to have intercourse with me. But that was not a part of the negotiation. And at that time, I want to say I was a full 4'7", or maybe almost 7, but I feel like I was 7. I remember saying to him, no, that's not what such and such said. Such and such said that you could touch or whatever, but you can't do that. Then he called the person in there and was like, yo, what's up? And the person was like, no, we didn't agree with that. But he's like, I don't want anything else. And I'm like, well, because I really wanted the snow cone. And this is my 7-year-old brain thing. You know, if I don't do this, then I'm not going to get my snow cone, because this person is telling me we have to do this to get money for a snow cone. So I'm like, I know what I could do that you don't have to, and I don't have great vocabulary to explain what's going on. So I think I was trying to explain that I can give you fellatio and you don't have to have intercourse with me and you'll be happy. But I said it in a really jacked up way. I can't remember exactly what I said, but I remember everybody stopping and being like, and he's like, you do this all the time? Edit again, because I gave the person away. And after I said what I said, the person was like, you do this all the time? And the person was like, no, you know, I've never brought her here. I've never done this or whatever with her. This gentleman was like, no, I don't want no part of this. I don't know what's going on, but something's not right here. I ultimately ended up pleasuring another gentleman for a few dollars, and that just kind of sums it up. And I remember it was a really awkward car ride back home. And I remember saying, where's my snow cone? And the person's telling me, oh, you know, we don't have enough money for the snow cone. I seen the guy give you money is what I'm saying to the person. And the person's like, no, it's not enough. I'm like, I know how much a snow cone costs. Like, I don't, like, it's just, you know, a couple of dollars, and I seen you had enough to get the snow cone. So I was really upset that I didn't get the snow cone, which speaks a lot about my mind state back then, that I was more upset that I didn't get a snow cone than I just got like pimped out. That scenario only happened a couple of times, and each time I was able to perform oral sex instead of being penetrated. There's something about even back then that I did not like anyone touching my vagina. So I would tolerate it, but when it comes to the penis touching my vagina, I just did not know. And I would do everything. Somehow I got it in my head that if I sucked the penis good enough, then they could not, or they would not want to penetrate me vaginally or anal. So that is my first exploitation experiences. Ultimately, we ended up moving away. My mom, her husband, and siblings, we moved away because we were in the military. And you know, that sexual abuse continued on until, as I say, they divorced, which was an entirely traumatic experience in itself. I don't even know if I want to talk about in this video how they divorced, but there was a lot of domestic violence in my household. And they only divorced because he literally almost killed her in front of us. And that is watching your mom almost be killed, and then having to try to call 911 and they don't answer the phone because there's a busy signal, and the neighbors aren't answering the door, and the last thing you see is your mother trying to escape from the man that's trying to take her life, running through the woods behind your house with him chasing her. Your entire hallway looks like a blood slip and slide. It was just covered in blood, handprints, blood prints everywhere, hair, teeth just splattered everywhere. And you don't see your parent again for an extremely long time because they're in the hospital and no one's telling you any type of update. It traumatizes you. That's why to this day, I will never tolerate being in a domestic violence relationship ever. So, getting back to the story at hand, they divorced. And although they divorced when I was 12, he continued to sexually abuse me till around 15 because, twofold. One, this is how I got sexually exploited the second time. After the divorce, a person who shall remain unnamed transported me to this man's home, left me there, and received money to come back a couple hours later. That happened for a little bit. Then after the person, and I'm only getting his side from why it stopped. By his side, I mean the abuser, the guy, my ex-stepdad. He told me that the person that was delivering me to him at the time wanted more money. And whoopsies, gave the person away. My ex-stepdad told me that the person wanted more money. He didn't want to give the person more money, so he told the person no. So the person stopped taking me. He just started picking me up from the bus stop. And he picked me up before school, did what he wanted to do with me, take me to the store to give me some gummy bears. And I'm still a huge fan of gummy bears to this day. I like what I like. And then drop me off at school. That went on for years. That came to an end when one day I just decided not to get in the car. I just had enough. It's hard being a teenager. I feel like people thought that maybe I just didn't want to date, but I did want to date. But it's hard when you are being sexually abused to then go and get the attention of a peer and be in a relationship with a peer, because then I felt like I'd be cheating on my peer with my step-parent or the men that would follow after he was out of the picture. Like, I couldn't imagine kissing up on such and such at school and then going home and being sexually abused. Like, ugh, it was just too... So once he was out of the picture, another gentleman moved into the household, and was it was just like the same situation, just a different person. Really there was DV, or domestic violence, sorry, jargon. There was domestic violence still, and sexual abuse all over again. Except this guy would occasionally throw a $20 bill when he was done. Same thing. And that continued until I went to college. So that is just like an overview of my sexual abuse. I have so many stories I could share, but for time's sake, I can't. Like, I just don't have the time to sit and just be like, this happened at this age and this and this and this. In my intro video, I talked about the times that I was raped, and that would be a separate video. I guess I could, no, it'll be a separate video, but I think it's important that I continue to tell you kind of just like the overview of my entire life and all of my experiences, and so that you get a full picture of exactly what I endured. When I say, okay, now I'm free from all of that stuff, I'm healed, I'm happy finally, I've got peace and forgiveness, before I start telling you my journey to getting peace and forgiveness and becoming whole again. So I think I'll continue to share my stories with you, and then when I'm finally done kind of giving you an overview of my life traumatic experiences, then I'll share how I got to this right here. So stay tuned, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you know the next time that I come and upload here. And yeah, I will see you guys next time. Thank you for visiting.